Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to create a program of factorial and using recursion in JavaScript. Okay, so our input will be n, which will be 5. Okay, and we need to do calculate the factorial 5, which will be like factorial 5, which will be 5 into factorial 4, that will be 120. How we will calculate this? So we have to multiply from n to 1. Okay, so n equals to 5, so we will multiply each term from 5 to 1, so it will be like 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1, that will be 120, right? And so this is our input and this is our output. Output will be 120 factorial of 5. So here we will create a structure of function in JavaScript, that will be function fact. This is n, we are passing a parameter, and body, start body, and then close body, and here call fact of 5, like I am going to find out the factorial of 5, so it will be 5, like here the value of n. Okay, it will be the body, so we will implement this body later. So first of all, we are going to apply a different approach to find out the solution. Okay, so first approach is high level approach. Inside high level approach, the first one was expectation. So here we need to know about our expectation. So what should we need to find out? So we have to find out factorial of what? 5. That is none other than factorial n, right? So we need to find out factorial 5 at the value of factorial 5 will be like 5 into factorial of 4, that will be 120, or directly you can understand that 120 will be the answer. And the next step will be assumption. Okay, inside assumption we assume that factorial of n minus 1, which will be factorial of 4. So factorial of n minus 1 will be automatically generated the value of factorial n minus 1. So here it will automatically generated the value which will be 24. How we will calculate this 24? This will be like 4 into 3 factorial of 3. Otherwise we can also calculate that 4 into 3 into 2 into 1, that is also 24, right? And the third step, here we will relate what? We relate expectation and assumption, right? So as we assume that the factorial n minus 1 will also already produce the factorial of n minus 1, that is like factorial of 4 will produce 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. Okay, that is 24. And what we need to do, we need to multiply n, like we need to multiply 5. So it will, now what will be the value of this one, this block? That will be 120. So this is our required output. So here if we will standardize it, so after standardize it, it will be like n, here 5 is n. Okay, so n into factorial of n minus 1, right? This is our solution. So we will consider this statement and implement our code. Okay, so here we will look for low level analysis. Yep, low level approach. Inside low level approach, the first one is coding implementation, right? Inside a coding implementation, we will write a function in JavaScript, function fact, and here we are passing a parameter as a n. Then we will open the body of the function. Here we need to find out the factorial n minus 1. So here we will store the value of n minus 1 in a variable, that will be factorial n minus 1, which will be fact of n minus 1, right? And then we will need to find out the value of factorial of n, right? So here what we need to do, here we need to only multiply n into what? Factorial n minus 1. This is very simple. And now we need to return factorial n. Okay, and here we will close the block of that particular function. Okay, and now we will call the function factorial of 5, because we need to find out the factorial of 5. So here we will implement a second step, that is dry run, or you can say base case, to find out the base case. What is our base case? So here we will implement the stack. Okay, this is our stack, and the value here we will write a value of n on each step. Okay, and here factorial of n minus 1, and this one will be factorial of n. Okay, and one more thing, we will here like numbering line number 1, line number 2, line number 3, right? So only understanding purpose we wrote here. So when we pass a 5 as a n, so n will be 5 right here in line number 1, n will be 5, okay? And whenever it will reach out line number 2 at that point, it will execute like line number 2. So line number 2, when it execute here, we then this will call. Firstly here we call what? We call fact of 5, and then when line number 2 execute, then it call a fact of 5 minus 1, which was 4, okay? So this will be fact of 4. So here call fact of what? 4, right? And the value of n, now the value of n will be 4, okay? And then this one is our first line of code, and then the second line of code will execute, and then whenever the second line of code will be execute, then the value of like n minus 1 will be, now this was 4 and then it will be like 3, okay? Then this function will also call again, and the value of n will be 3, okay? So here fact of 3 will be called, and value of n will be 3, right? And then it will go to line number 2. Whenever it will go to line number 2, it will again call a factorial of what? N minus 1, that is 2. And now the value of n will be on line number 1, that will be 2. For 2, this will be 2, okay? And then line number 2 execute. Whenever it will whenever the line number 2 executes, it will reduce like n. So this will call factorial of 1, okay? So now it will call factorial of n. Now for factorial of n, and the value of n will be 1 at line number 1, okay? And then it will go line number 2. Whenever it will go line number 2, it will decrease and it will be 0. The value of n will be 0. Whenever the value of n will be 0, and when we try to find out the factorial of 0, that will be 0. And one more thing, if we will multiply the value like 0 in any value, that will the resultant will be 0. So now here our base case is 1, okay? So here we find out our base case, okay? So here we will implement the logic. What is the logic? The logic is, if n equals to 1, then return what? Return 1, okay? That's it. Till here we just went from bottom to top, right? Top. And now when we find out our base case, then it will go from top to bottom, right? And whenever we execute our stack from top to bottom, the respective line will be like wipe out, okay? It will be wipe out automatically when it will be executed, okay? So we will mind it. Now for factorial of n, here the value of factorial of n will be like n is 1, so factorial of 1 will be 1, okay? And then here the factorial of n minus 1, so here the value of n is 2, and n minus 1 will be factorial of 1, so 1 is this one, like this one, okay? And now we need to find out the factorial of n. So what will be factorial of n? Here as we implemented like n into factorial factorial n minus 1, okay? So here n into n minus 1, that will be 2. This is the value of factorial of n, right? And now in this line here, these line will be wipe out, okay? And here what will be the value of factorial of n minus 1? That is 2, okay, for a 3, right? So now the factorial of n will be like, n will be what? N into factorial n minus 1, so that will be 6, okay? And for this line factorial of 2, it will be removed. And then now on here, so here what will be the value of factorial n minus 1? That is 6, okay? So it will be 6. And the value of factorial of n, that will be n into factorial of n minus 1, that is 24, okay? And here it will goes here. So the value of factorial of n minus 1 will be 24, and now factorial of n will be n into factorial of n minus 1, so this will be 120. Our result, we found our result, factorial of n. So we return this 120 in here in this statement, and it will produce the resultant value, that is 120, okay? So that's it. Now we will implement these line of code inside our VS Code, okay? So we will implement a live implementation. So here we can see that this is our function factorial of n, and this is our body of our function, and we call a function like we need to find out the factorial of 5, right? So here we call a fact of 5. Here what will we implement? We implement the same thing which we like understand in our code. Okay, that is these line of code. So here we will implement the condition first. If n equals to 1, then it should got written return 1, right? And then we will store the value of factorial n minus 1. So here let factorial n minus 1 will be fact of n minus 1. Okay, so now we will store the value of factorial n. Okay, so here factorial of n will be like n into factorial of n minus 1. Okay, that's it. And now we will return what? Return factorial of n. This is very simple. And here we call a function, but we need to print this, so we have to store the value of factorial 5 inside any variable. So here we will store a let factorial of n, right? Then here console dot log what? Factorial of n. Okay, and now here we execute this program. Here this is 120, this is the factorial of 5. Okay, if we pass a 4, we need to find out a factorial of 4. So here this will be 24. If we pass a 6, find out the factorial of 6, that will be like 720 or something. There is it is. So this is our whole program, and that's it for this video. In our next video, we will implement a next program, and we will give you the link of this program in our description. You can go through that link and download if you want. Okay, so we will meet you in next video. Till then, take care and bye.